Today we are going to be looking at um, a new system. I don't think we've run it yet at any of our events.
Not that I'm
It is
aware of.
yeah, we're gonna run Alien RPG. It's a system from Free League that was created in 2018. It is a D6 system, so if you have any familiarity with D6 systems, you just roll a bunch of D6s. So if you can see on the screen and everybody watching can see, basically we go over by stress. Stress is one of the main mechanics that you'll have. Stress is the mechanic that is going to fuel your characters as well as hinder them, obviously. But I think it does a pretty great job of capturing um, how like that where when you're under stress, you can push yourself to do things that you normally wouldn't, or you can succumb to that stress. But yes, stress dies, and then panic. Sometimes panic's based on how much stress you have and stuff. It just might be a small thing like you freeze in the moment.
Gotcha.
Or it might be like you scream and run in fear, and then you run into a more dangerous situation. Personal agendas. So in cinematic plays, your personal agendas are basically what fuel your characters to act throughout the one shot. Alien is a cinematic role playing game. Is It's not really a combat game. So like these are the key points of the system. These personal agendas, these buddies and rivals, these interactions are going to happen more frequently than alien interactions, right? You're only going to fight an alien once or twice, luckily, and then if you make it out, then great, right? Buddies and rivals, you're going to be interacting with the party as they are going through their agendas far more frequently than uh, than the other portions. All right, your gear. So starting gears, you can choose these things later on. There's a list of gear. A signature item is a very important thing. Um, Signature items, when you use them during an act, can remove stress. If Hirsch is able to sit down and spend some time to, rub his crucifix, that would be an opportunity for you to remove stress. And then consumables, I don't think we'll run into this, but it is in other scenarios. There are things that come into play really often that I've seen in some of them is access to oxygen and things like that. And where when you roll a die, generally speaking, you're going to run a roll of six. When consumables are tracked, it reverses. So that means if you were roll a six when you make a consumable check, that means you're exhausting more of your uh, ammunition or your oxygen. So yeah, you would go down. This is the this is the dice mechanics, which we kind of talked about before. The crosshairs is a six. If you roll a one on your base die, um, you can perform the action, and then if you don't, it's a fail. And then the face hugger symbol, the stress die, the one is replaced, and you roll more or one, you risk panicking. You can push a roll, and you will re-roll all the dice that you choose. You can re-roll every single dice, or you can keep the sixes and re-roll some of the other dice. But a push allows you to achieve a success or to achieve a critical success. In some moments, um, there are times where you can have a contested check where like you'll need to score more strength dice in a contested check than the alien. And so if you that would be an opportunity where if you're tied, it's kind of like or you're below it, then you can push that roll and all that stuff. But you can't push a roll if you rolled a one on a stress die. But again, for someone learning to play the game, this is all pretty like if you're familiar with D&D, these are like I said, these are feats. Or if you're familiar with like Blades in the Dark, Monster of the Week, these are like your playbooks. These are your talents that are going to fuel your character's abilities throughout the game. Okay, and then these are general talents. General talents are basically additional talents that would be available to anyone in any class. It's not necessarily specific to like a roughneck or a pilot. Anybody could carry one of these talents. Measuring time. This can come into play depending on like if you are face hugged or you sustain an injury, a significant injury. These measurement times will come into play. So like a round, obviously 5 to 10 seconds, a turn 5 to 10 minutes. But the big one is the shift. And the shift one at the bottom, 5 to 10 hours, and that's primary use is recovery. So that's where like either you get face hugged, and depending on what you roll, like a shift, you if it's one shift, you got 10 hours until your chest bursting. Uh, and then obviously if there's like critical injury, you've got like one shift until that injury is deadly. So this is enemy movement again. These things are smart. So basically, you just some operate as like scouts and don't want to be, or are more observant, and other ones are just kind of just there hanging out. They have different capabilities, but they're gonna move smartly, and they're gonna try and outmaneuver you all. And obviously stuff comes into play, is like making noises, being loud, etc., etc. It could alert something that's in the area. It could alert us something if that's out of the area or close. Motion trackers are just like they are if you've ever watched the movies or you have any familiarity with it. Uh, they pull up that little green screen. The green screen, it has like the little sonar, and you get like the 30 blips of like the aliens running toward them. It's the exact same thing. All right, and then actions and initiatives. So when the enemy is revealed, so let's say the course of actions play themselves out, and you either detect the face hugger or the face hugger jumps out and gets a sneak attack. That is when we'll roll for initiative. And the initiative is done in this way, is done by cards. The alien automatically gets 2 initiatives. So if they roll, they pick twice. They could roll 1 and 2 and take their 2 actions at the beginning of turn. They could roll 1 and 5, but that's how they generally work. You can exchange initiatives. Again, it's not. That's a personal thing. So let's say you feel like you might need to take an action to save someone, and since the doctor's later on, someone else might want to switch.
So you have to be close enough to be able to talk to them in
Right.
proximity. You can't be like across the room or something else. Unless you want to yell.
All right, now slow and fast actions. This is important. When it's your time to act in a round, you can perform 1 slow action, 1 fast, or 2 fast. A slow action usually consists of rolling a skill, so like close combat, heavy machinery, fire a gun, etc. A fast action may not always require that. So what'll happen is you will describe your action and state which of the 2 actions you want to perform, and then basically I will determine which one it is. It's pretty straightforward. So like again, a lot of these are going to be like close combat attack. You want to stab something with a knife, right? You want to shoot a firearm. You want to reload your firearm. You want to stop someone who's losing their mind, panicking. Things like that. Fast actions are going to be drawing your weapon, blocking an attack, running, moving through a door or hatch, slamming a door button, or one of the door entries close, etc. Here we are helping others. If you help another, it costs 1 of your actions, and it has to be the same kind of action. And you have to state that you're helping someone before any dice are rolled. Close combat, you can only engage if there's an enemy within range of a close combat. Door and hatches are fast actions. Okay, ambushes and sneak attacks. Sneak attacks are when you It's basically when you're getting the upper hand. So depending on how close you want to go, you can attack the close combat. You have to move within engage range to your enemy. If you fail, the opponent spots you at your starting distance, or you draw initiative. Ambush is a special kind of sneak attack. You see a large swarm of creatures coming. You take up a defensive position. You're undetected based on your rolls. You can do an ambush, or vice versa. Alien goes undetected. You are walking through an area where the alien has been undetected, and it could then ambush you. Another action is retreats. Retreats will give you a tactical advantage to get out of the engage range. Range combat. Aiming would be a fast action, and then you can see down here, it would give you a +2 to your attack roll. These are where modifiers come in. So you can aim, get a modifier. Weapons generally have a modifier. So now you're at stacking dice as you keep rolling to get your successes. And then here you can see the range modifications. So here we go with the you can a full auto fire is you can basically empty your clip and give yourself a modification, but you would add a stress die immediately because of this. And then cover is another action you can take. It's pretty self-explanatory. So here we go over the ammo, which with a point Josh raised is that most of these have large enough magazines, you don't need to worry about it. So whenever you fire a weapon and you roll a 1 or more on your stress, one or more face hugger on your stress die, then you've emptied your magazine. Again, I think the most beneficial thing is going to be this page here that has the slow and fast actions. Okay, damage. Recovery again is you can use this to attempt to recover a health. You can use this once, and then critical injuries are still going to affect you unless your health is all the way restored. Broken is when you drop to 0 health, and you are taken out of the action, and you will immediately roll for a critical injury. There's a critical injury table. If you are not dead, then you will have to role play through your critical injury. Being broken is not fatal. Only critical injuries can actually kill you. There are 2 ways to get up after being broken. You can use a first aid, which someone makes a medical roll, or you can attempt to do this on your own, and you can only recover 1 point. Critical injuries, we'll talk about it. Again, it's a roll basically you make when you fall broken. Death, you can't push a death roll. You make a death roll with stamina. If your death roll fails, you die. If you succeed, you linger on and make another death roll. So this is where the time comes in. It can be a turn, it could be a shift. You'll roll on that table. So you could be stabilized for 5 minutes, or you could be stabilized for 5 hours. There are critical injuries, as it says, that will result in instant kills. And here is the critical injury table. There also is some permanent mental trauma. Again, most of this could come out with this could come up as you getting some negative modifications, but most of it is going to be more of role play oriented. Okay, stress and panic. This is important stuff. Your stress level increases by 1 if you ever do one of the following. You push a skill roll. So anytime you push a skill roll, you're going to automatically roll a stress die, an extra stress die. You fire a burst of full auto. You suffer 1 or more points of damage. You go without sleep or food or water. Not going to happen, really. You perform a coup de grace. Scientist on your team fails to use the analysis. A member of your own crew attacks you. A person nearby is revealed to be an android, or you encounter certain creatures or locations just as described in the scenario. Panic rolls. When you roll 1 or more face hugger on your stress die, you can't push that roll. That's a very important feature. So if you are rolling all of your dice and you want to try and push it, but you rolled a face hugger on your stress in any of your stress die, that roll cannot be pushed. Whenever you roll a face hugger on a stress die, you'll then roll for panic. There are various ways that you can cancel panic. Um, there are various ways you can add more to panic. And then there are various ways that you can relieve stress. I think we'll touch on that one. Stopping panic, you can use one of the only real way to do it from a player action is using the command, or you're broken, or you take a turn, or your turn passes. So, like, let's say you see an alien, you roll a stress die, you roll a 1, you roll a panic, the panic action happens. Once that turn is passed, the panic action is done. For every full turn, so 5 to 10 minutes spent resting in a safe area that's secured from enemies, as far as you know, you can reduce your stress level by 1 point. So here's the panic rolls. I'll add this in there again, but you can kind of see that as far as the higher you go up in the number, the worse the effects are. So for the motion trackers, you need to make a power supply roll with every use, and it has a power level of 5 when fully charged.
So this seems very cool. Unfortunately, like 50% of it is similar enough to D&D that it makes sense, and the other 50% is learning the D6 system and how many different things you need to have in mind and all that jazz. So.
And it's a lot different than some of the other D6 systems, or just like, or the like Modiphius's 2d20, where it's you're rolling the same dice over and over again trying to get successes, but it's not a number of successes. It's you just need a success to go forward. So
Right.
it's very, very player driven. So not DM comes up with a arbitrary number for how difficult something is. It's very RP and player driven. So I have a feeling we're gonna have a good time next week when we do when we get involved with actually character interactions and stuff. So
yeah, it'll be fun.
We are Adventures on Tap. We are a local Orlando, Florida group that runs D&D games at local breweries. We try and coordinate events on days or times where the breweries might be slower. You know, if you have a place that opens at noon, but no one, shows up till like 6 o'clock after work, between noon and 5 or 6 is a great time for us. So we bring in a bunch of different people, all to play D&D or other TTRPGs, such as Alien. Ferg here is prepping to run a game for our October 27th, I believe, is the event, our Halloween event. And so we go to these different breweries, run games of D&D, and while we're there, we run raffles where it is you can buy 1 ticket for $5 or 3 for 10, and potentially win some awesome prizes from local vendors that specialize in fantasy stuff like dice, or there's one that does candles that smell like Gloomy Cave, or Druid's Grove, stuff like that. And then all the money that is received from the ticket sales of the raffle all go to local Orlando charities. So it's a big thing for us. We play local, drink local, and support local. We're doing this Twitch thing. We're connected with another local charity called Child's Play that specializes in getting games, board games, video games, all sorts of stuff like that, to kids that are in the hospital to hopefully get their mind off of whatever it is that they're going through. They're an awesome organization, and I myself donated $10 last night. So it's an awesome group that we love being a part of. And the fact that we can stream while us forever DMs get an actual chance to play is just another way to benefit these local charities.